When I started Section 103 as this side project, I knew that ultimately I wanted to add schools to it, right? If it was successful and if I learned and wanted to do that. So I set out with the idea that someday this will grow into something bigger. So when I came up with a name for the company, I wanted it to sound like a sports brand, not a Georgia Tech brand, because I knew I wanted to grow beyond that. But I did want some hidden Georgia Tech meaning, because I went here, it's the first school I had, but I didn't want it to be so obvious that it was like Ramblin' Wreck Apparel or something like that. So I dug deep, thought for a long time, and I stumbled upon this idea of Section 103. So Section 103 really didn't have any significance at Georgia Tech. It's not the student section, it's not the section I sat in, which is what people ask me all the time. I was just kind of looking for something I could grab onto, and noticed that in both the football and basketball stadiums here, Section 103 is at the end of the home team bench. And I saw that as kind of a metaphor for the way that fans view themselves as an extension of the team, sitting at the end of the bench. And so I kind of just went with that metaphor as Section 103 being, I'm part of the team, I sit at the end of the bench, whatever school you're at. So that's where the name came from. For 4 years, it has been just a Georgia Tech brand, because it has been a side project, like I said, and I didn't necessarily have the time to grow it. And so as I'm growing it this year, like I said, I've been meeting with a lot of licensing directors and pitching them on my story, which is this. It's a crowded marketplace out there in college apparel, right? You've got to be different. You have to have a differentiator. And the thing that I'm selling these schools on, and which they seem to be buying, is a lot of what I've done with Georgia Tech. So I mentioned some of the needs that I met at the beginning with Georgia Tech, were those things I had heard for years that weren't being met. It's the right shade of gold isn't out there. They had unveiled this new word mark recently that wasn't being applied on apparel. So those were kind of easy, low-hanging fruit that I provided for Georgia Tech fans, and they were happy and loved it. But the thing that I've kind of done since then, and a little bit in that initial launch, is really dive deep into the history and the traditions and kind of the ethos of Georgia Tech. And it's easier because I went there, but really providing designs like the one I'm wearing now. North Avenue Trade School is an old nickname for the school that really only students and alumni would understand. So I'm looking for those kind of deep cuts, those traditions that every school has a traditions page on their athletics website or their school website. I want to go even beyond that. Like those are the cheers or the statues that everybody knows about, but I'm looking for something that will resonate with students and alumni and just passionate fans. So a good example is one of my best-selling shirts is a restaurant that was on Georgia Tech's campus that closed over a decade ago, but it was beloved and people that went here in that era loved it. And as soon as I put that shirt on the poll that I have at the bottom of my site for what should we print next, it was a runaway winner and it's been a top seller for me. So I want to do that for other schools, even though I didn't go there. And so I told these schools what I've been doing with Georgia Tech and told them I want to do that with theirs. And that's what I've started doing. I've visited a couple schools already, really dove deep with some current students, with some alumni, and I'm trying to find those concepts that other apparel providers are not going to make for their school. So that's kind of been my pitch, and that's what I plan to do as I launch these schools in the next few months.